Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler. Got a huge show on tonight. Like a few days ago, like on Monday, got some breaking news out of the LA Chargers camp. We'll talk about that. Didn't even put it in the title. It broke 5 minutes. I didn't get it until 5 minutes before the program started, Pickles. Also want to talk about there's rumors that Andy Reid, this could be his potential last game Sunday. Hope that doesn't come to fruition. Really like what Andy Reid's done. Rumors of his retirement. Doc Rivers, man, what are the Bucs thinking hiring Doc Rivers? And plus, not to bury the lead, the great Keith Angle from TGI Sports will be on the program here in about 30 minutes. Cannot wait. Love to catch up with Keith. He's great. Let's go ahead and take our first and only break. I'll hit the ground running. We'll talk about this breaking news out of the LA Charger camp that just broke here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty then. Now, okay, listen, I'll get more into this in depth tomorrow, folks, okay? Ian Rapoport, NFL Network, Jim Harbaugh, and the LA Chargers have agreed to terms. He will leave Michigan and be back in the NFL, as I said from day one, because I'm the best. Jim Harbaugh's best bet would be take that LA Charger job. You've got franchise quarterback and Justin Herbert there. You got left tackle there, Rashawn Slater. Pass rusher there, Joey Bosa. Now with the rumors of potentially Sunday being Andy Reid's last game, they would be favorites immediately, in my opinion, immediately to win the AFC West. That's not the goal. It's Super Bowl. There were some delays in this talk. Ian Rapoport says that he was still trying to think whether or not he should return back and take that $100 million deal with Michigan. If you ask me, Ann Arbor, Michigan versus LA, even with all the bull crap and the cost of living in LA with the taxes and all, my guess is they ponied up the money because a lot of scrutiny has came out against the Spanos family that they're cheap because they went with guys like Staley here, Brandon Staley, I guess is his name. So they ponied up the money. And my other thing was, I think that they possibly had to figure out, okay, who's going to be working with who? There's probably meetings. Can we work together? The Spanos kids and Jim Harbaugh. Now, I still stand by what I said, Pickles, and that is that Harbaugh is a 5-year playing guy. Anything after that, he's going to rub elbows. He's going to bump heads with management. He's going to bump heads with ownership. He'd probably bump heads with the players. I know he did that at San Francisco. So I do think that but that being said, you got You got a Justin Herbert in his prime. I said you got a left tackle. Obviously, you got Keenan Allen. He started to go on the other back end of his career, and you got an often injured Mike Williams. But in this case, Harbaugh, very good at recruiting, does know the landscape of college football. I would be okay with giving him some okay with picking the roster because he just got out of a championship level football program in Michigan. So he's been recruiting all these major players, even though the ones that didn't go to Michigan, your guys that went to Georgia, Ohio State, etc., Alabama. He knows who they are. He's watched them. He's got reports on every great player in the country. Michigan's a national powerhouse, like for example, like a Pete Carroll, like a Jimmy Johnson. Didn't you notice that Jimmy Johnson left 5 years after he took that job, which is 5 years after he with the Cowboys? He had left Miami. His picking of the players, his general manager skills would have eventually declined if he were doing two jobs. But he was fresh off that Miami job, and he still knew who was who because he had been recruiting players for years. So that gave him a leg up. That gave Pete Carroll a leg up. As things went on, Pete Carroll, things started to nosedive. That's why he is now out of coaching right now. So, again, I'm going to talk about this here with the Ran Carthon news. I'm okay with the general manager in 99% of the situations picking the players, okay? Let these guys worry about personnel. There's not enough hours in the day for the coach to run the team and pick the personnel. You guys know how many colleges? There's just Division I alone, there's 120, okay? Now you're keeping up with transfer guys, new systems they're going into, all right? That doesn't count Division II players, semi-pro players. That's a big ask right there. So my thing is, this is a home run hire. This is the best possible spot. Ace Boom Coon. Now, Bill Belichick's still out there, okay? Harbaugh supposedly had interest of the Falcons. Now you got to ask yourself, would Belichick go to the Falcons, who've now started interviewing Mike Vrabel, okay? So there's a lot of questions out there about Belichick. I just wonder if he's got those issues. I'll get into that in more detail tomorrow. Now back to your regular scheduled program. Like I said on Monday, I've got too many notes and stuff. I'm not doing what my title said I was going to do if I do not get on with this. Okay. A lot of people's brought this up on the show over the last week. Switching gears to Andy Reid. Pickle says he's a bull in the china shop. Yeah, he's going to run hot, man. But the thing is, you're going to win a Super Bowl probably. You'll either get there and win it, or he'll die trying, you know. And the ironic thing is his brother is favored to win the Super Bowl, going back to Harbaugh, and he's already won the national championship. Where have you ever heard something like that? These guys are a powerhouse. Excuse me. Okay. Andy Reid, Mike Florio is saying there are rumblings. My guess is he has a source, okay? Andy Reid retirement talk rumors continued throughout the last few weeks, having little, air quote, little official confirmation. That's why I've left this story alone. On Andy Reid, now he's 66, okay? You know, I mentioned the stuff about his sons. You watch the videos, he looks so bleeping happy. You feel like that's his family, man. You feel like that's his family there with these players here, with Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey and everybody. You know, he seems so happy there. But this is what Florio says. This is from Pro Football Talk. We have said and continue to say that the Chiefs have a possible Andy Reid retirement after the postseason on their radar screen. Some Chiefs fans have reacted strongly to that notion. That's their prerogative. If they want to believe the Chiefs don't have a possible Andy Reid retirement on their radar screen, whatever they say is contrary. Regardless, it won't matter. The issue's prompted. Okay, now, for Florio to say that tells me he has a source in the Kansas City organization, whether it's a general manager, assistant general manager, equipment guy, something. Maybe the players know this and they're all keeping quiet, but someone may have let Florio know. That's my guess. When there's smoke for stuff like this, there's usually fire. I hope it don't happen. Again, he's got one son in prison. He's got another one that is had a tragic death and a drug overdose. This feels like a second family to him. On the other hand, he may be stressed out by these long hours. He might want to do some traveling. He's made a ton of money. The NFL, great pensions there. Not to mention those commercials he's been in. He'll get appearance fees on some of these pregame shows and all that good stuff here. Great personality. If I ran a Sirius XM NFL Network show, he would be a guy I would go to. Reminds me of my friend Al Borges from the Nye of the Tiger, who by the way, I've got to get back on the program. Got to get all my contacts from Facebook. Those lowlifes completely shutting me out like that. But, he's a guy like that. I would love to bring him on my program if I had a big enough platform. Andy Reid would be great. Now, I'll talk about his career if that actually happens. My reason for bringing all this up is what would happen with Patrick Mahomes, okay? Yes, Patrick Mahomes would be a desired place to go. Anybody would want to go coach a Patrick Mahomes in this team. Yes, he's going to be a big cap hit over the next few years. Brett Veach has done an excellent job. You've got an excellent defensive coordinator. Hopefully, whoever would take that job would keep Steve Spagnuolo on the staff and running that young, vibrant defense. They need a help at tackle. Chris Jones is probably going to leave, and he's getting older. But other than that, very good at the cornerback position. And my thing is now with the Jim Harbaugh news, okay, yes, they could still win because now you already know the strengths of Patrick Mahomes. But to say that they're going to be this consistent, this is going to be their sixth consecutive AFC Championship game, second in the history of the NFL, only to the New England Patriots. I've talked about that before. They're not going to be this consistent. Mahomes, like a Josh Allen, I can foresee when Brian DeBall left and took the Giants job, Josh Allen's play last year took a nosedive. It's kind of leveled out. They've had to fire Ken Dorsey. Now Joe Brady's running the out. So you're going to see that without that quarterback whisper correcting a Mahomes and saying, listen, do not do this. You're starting to get bad habits. Let's get you back on track here. And that's what a lot of the former quarterback, your Michael Vicks of the world, a lot of the former quarterback. Plus, listen, the stats don't lie. Everybody this guy's coached, they've had their premier success rate. Alex Smith, you name it, Donovan McNabb, they knew exactly when he was done. Did nothing with the Washington then Redskins. I think he went to this Minnesota. Other than that, he was totally washed here. So that's that angle. That's the angle right there that I wanted to talk about today. Chad Collins for another Chiefs big win, possibly get another Super Bowl. Yeah, so this could be win one for the Gipper. Maybe the players know that, Chad. You know, maybe Travis Kelce, who's been up and down, he had a great game Sunday, who's been up and down himself, maybe this is his last game. Brother already retired. He's going to retire. Jason, Travis, 34, going to be 35 next year. Jason's 36, will be 37. He's already going to retire. They've got that really popular podcast there, the Kels brothers. Possibly he could retire as well. Wow, what if a Bill Belichick? He's still out there, folks. What if Andy Reid, this time next week, we're talking about Andy Reid's retirement, okay? And what if a Bill Belichick wants to go there? What if he wants to take a Josh McDaniels there, okay? So something like that, that could be food for thought. I'm bummed out about it. If it happens, when there's smoke, there's usually fire. But again, I do think that Mahomes and that group, especially if Brett Veach stays there, can still win a Super Bowl. But again, look back at Tom Brady, okay? Yeah, he won a Super Bowl, okay? He did. He won in 2020 with the Bucs. What happened the next year? Reports started coming out that the team was not buttoned up. There was too loosey-goosey in the coach's room, the players, and all that. He played one more year. They never won another. They won one other playoff game since that Super Bowl run with Arians, and then he called it quits. I mean, he could see, and these are from the reports. It's not my opinion. He could see the drop off in culture. So that's why I say him and Belichick were good for each other at that particular time. I think Mahomes will catch up on this. Andy Reid is that good with quarterbacks, folks. Not unless Jim Harbaugh wanted to take the job. Now he's already going to work with Justin Herbert, and he's going to kill himself to make them a Super Bowl champion. And yes, they have a very good shot to do so. Okay, so anyways, switching gears, since I added that other story, got to speed things up a little bit because I got a lot I want to get to with the great Keith Angle here. Speaking of coaches getting fired and foolish hires, guys, you will not believe this. You will not believe this. I didn't want to believe it last night, okay? And then this morning I read it again. Then this afternoon, Adrian Wojciechowski confirms it that Doc Rivers is going to take Doc Rivers. They have offered Doc Rivers that Bucs job, okay? The same Doc Rivers, folks, that, oh, God, okay. The same Doc Rivers that has blown, oh, man, you folks won't believe this. Let me look at these stats here. 3-1 leads, okay, and 4-3-2 leads in the NBA playoffs. Yes, he won the championship in 08. We all know that. But again, you know what the percentage chances of winning a championship if you're up, or winning a series, winning a series if you're up 3-1? 95%. That 5%'s all got to be one guy, Doc Rivers, right? And of course, maybe Steve Kerr with the 2016 Cleveland Cavs. But so 3-2, if you win game 5, 85% of the time you're supposed to win. Okay? He's lost 4 3-2 leads, which means he's getting out coached and out adjusted by the opposition. And what T. Boone Pickens, famous billionaire, the guy, Oklahoma State graduate, gave the most money to gave the most money to university, $1 billion, Oklahoma State University. Just recently died about 2 years ago, wrote him a book. He said, in this book here, the first billion's the hardest to make. An idiot without a plan is better than a genius without one. Bucks, what are you thinking, man? You fire this guy and you bring in a clown like a Doc Rivers. Listen to Ben Maller. I hope I can get the play here. From Fox Sports late last night, when things started becoming more and more prevalent that the Milwaukee Bucks with Damian Lillard and Giannis are going to hire Doc Rivers. They should have kept Budenholzer. This is Ben Maller from Fox Sports, probably about midnight last night. This guy's a trip. Listen up.
Era.
Hold on. Here we go.
He also stumbled. Doc Rivers. There's 2 words for Doc Rivers. common denominator. Doc Rivers has been the common denominator with talented teams, with the Lob City Clippers, and the crossover with the beginning of the great Kawhi Leonard era. In Clipper basketball. He also stumbled and bumbled with Joel Embiid, who's playing like Wilt Chamberlain in Philadelphia, and he had James Harden and other talented players in Philly. The longer we get away from Doc Rivers coaching the Celtics, the more amazing what that Boston team was able to do to win with kryptonite Doc Rivers on the sideline. But if you look at the Doc, this is medical malpractice for Doc Rivers. He is a grifter. The guy's a smooth talker, although not on television. The scribes love him. The basketball media love him because he plays grab ass with them, gives a good quote. Sounds like he knows what he's talking about. He's a charismatic con man. Is what
charismatic con man. I mean, this guy gets more jobs. Who's lived off something 15 years ago than anybody I've ever seen. My guess is if they do not get to the NBA Finals, beat Boston likely, this was a failure. If they do not get, you say, why not win the final? Well, LeBron and Dwayne Wade didn't win the first year with the Heat, and that great team. I'll give them that. But Damian Lillard is, 33 now? 34? He'll be pushing on 34. Brook Lopez, what's he, 35? I mean, it's really a win now mode. This really needs to be like a 2008 Boston Celtics situation. Two players in their 30s, I want to say, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, they're all ready to rock and roll and win it that year, okay? And we know a great series there with the LA Lakers to go ahead and win that. But, other than that, that's a failure. Could they fire this guy if he blows another 3-1 or 3-2 lead in the second round? I mean, they are going to be the laughingstock of the NBA. You just got to wonder internally what guys like Lillard are thinking to themselves. And Giannis, he'll probably fix the defense. I mean, I talked about this yesterday when they fired Adrian Griffin, that they went from first uno in defense to 27th. Also, they were the 1 seed last year, and they, of course, they got beat by the Heat, but the Heat were holding back all year. The Heat were doing the rope-a-dope on the league, doing a Muhammad Ali reference here. For some of you may have not, that the rope-a-dope was Ali resting his back and his energy on the ropes while George Foreman punched himself out, right? So, and then in the 7th round knocks Foreman out. So we'll have to see how that thing plays out. Terrible hire. Doc Rivers, are you kidding me? And T. Boone Pickens, who my dad was telling me that they formed the J.R. Ewing character off of T. Boone Pickens for the hit show Dallas, for some of you older audiences, which always shows the Cowboys Stadium in the intro. I love that. Okay, switching gears here. Back to the NFL. Now, Ran Carthon, his role was defined today. This is a good story. This is a good story in my humble opinion. Amy Adams, Strunk, the owner here, basically said that she was totally impressed, swept off her feet by okay, let me make sure I got this. She says, let's go here. Start. This is what she put out. Of course, the Titans finalized. This is from Adam Scheffner. Their football structure. She said she would put this out here. In addition to naming Brian Callahan, Cincinnati offensive coordinator, as head coach, the Titans executive. Also, the Titans also promoted executive Ron Carthon to executive vice president / general manager. Chad Binker, president of football operations. She says, quote, over the past year, Rand has impressed me with our staff, his innovative approach to roster building, said the Titans controlled owner Amy Adams Strunk. Rand's exceptional reputation around the league as a talent evaluator, and I agree, and a culture builder was a clear competitive advantage during last year's free agency and draft. Listen, Titans had nothing in money last year, and he got all the groceries with like $10. Very impressive. And I'll name off some of those names here in just a little bit. Clear competitive advantage during last year's free agency. Simply put, Rand makes the Titans a destination for the league's top talent by expanding his role, including full roster control and oversight of coaching staff. Our organizations now benefit more completely for its ability to build and lead. Totally 110% agree with that, folks. You know, again, limited cap space. First 3 draft picks, the guard tackle turned out to be a guard. Sonorski, Tajay Spears, a third rounder. Obviously, Will Levis. All of them played. Not to mention, he brings over guys like Daniel Brunskill to play guard on the offensive line, and Al Shazier, linebacker from the 49ers. But listen, they signed Arden Key, big pass rusher here for practically nothing from Jacksonville. Stole that deal, Pickles. And, of course, DeAndre Hopkins, that was more of a Vrabel pick, and so was Andre Dillard. Dillard was under Rauman. I'm just going by what Rich Ferris said that he heard from the Titans flagship, that Dillard was more of a Mike Vrabel type of move, okay? But you just look at the structure of Green Bay, kind of reminds me, setting up that type of structure that she just named, that reminds me of Green Bay. Youngest team to make the playoffs and win a game since like 1972 or something of that nature. And Pittsburgh, having that same type of structure, never having a losing season under Mike Tomlin, 6 Super Bowl titles, 3 head coaches since 1969. These former players, I'll have to say, there's more than one example of a former player actually making a really good general manager, okay? Not to mention, he came out from John Lynch under his tutelage there with the 49ers. But listen, he also has, now it's early, but there's some similarities from what I'm seeing early on and reading about the former running back, former player in the league, Rand Carthon, very Ozzie Newsome-like. Ozzie Newsome, former player, former tight end, University of Alabama, ran the Ravens, who we're still talking about and should be praising to this day. Jonathan Ogden, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, okay, Jamal Lewis, Super Bowl rings. That culture setter, that tone setter that he had well over 20 years is the reason why the Ravens are the favorite to win the Super Bowl, win Sunday, and win the Super Bowl. Remember, the Ravens and Ozzie Newsome had a big hand in that. Okay, 2 different Super Bowl wins, 2 different Super Bowl wins with 2 quarterbacks that will not sniff the Hall of Fame. Now, of course, if they go with Lamar Jackson, Lamar's going to get a second MVP. Little bit of a dip. But by the way, Lamar Jackson wasn't even the first pick for the Ravens the year he was drafted. Okay? It was that tight end, Hayden Hurst, out of Arkansas, and they traded up. They had some extra picks. They've always got extra picks. Made a move, traded up, got Lamar towards the very end of the first round. Okay? That's Ozzie Newsome. That was his last actual draft. Home run, home run, home run. You know? That's what I think about this guy, Carthon. Love the way that structure is. have an actual general manager. Let that guy, there's not enough hours in the day, folks. There's not enough hours in the day for a guy to be general manager and head coach. We saw that with Bill O'Brien. Total disaster. You know, we saw that with Bill Belichick at the end without Brady. Total disaster. You know, no Scott Pioli. Things start going downhill when you don't have Brady to cover up all of your mistakes. So, not saying he's going to be that good, but I'm starting to see what he did last year, and I'm real curious to see what he's going to do this year. Titans having the 7th overall pick, pretty close to the top team with the most cap space here. You've got that offensive-minded head coach. There's still talks that maybe they'll bring in Bill Callahan, although the Browns really want to keep him. Just like my man Rich said, that possibly they can bring back Mike Munchak, Hall of Fame coach, and, of course, Hall of Fame player as well. But just in the perfect nick of time, I finished up that point. I got it all out, and the great Keith Engel is backstage here.
Oh, hello, Robert.
Hey, buddy. Listen, man. This just broke. I didn't send it to you, but it broke about 10 minutes before I came on the program. Jim Harbaugh has accepted terms to become the LA Chargers head coach. What are your thoughts, man?
Not surprised. I thought San Diego would be the perfect landing place for him or any head coach who's looking for a job, quite frankly, because there's a quarterback in place and there's some talent there. He leaves behind it remains to be seen whether he's left a mess behind at Michigan or not. We don't know yet. I personally think there will be no more sanctions. If there are, it'll be minor stuff. Some of them, I just got through talking about it for a lot of my college show.
Yeah.
But, you know, he had an offer to stay there for $11 million a year and found something he liked better. He's been wanting to get back into the NFL the last 2 years. Everybody knows that.
What do you think they paid him, Keith, with that California tax rate, man? 25, 30 million, maybe?
I would hope so, because he's going to give the government half of it. So
yeah,
or more.
Yeah.
So listen, you know, I like Harbaugh. I know he's a very polarizing figure. He's a really good football coach. You can't deny he's a really good football coach. Whether you like him as a person and think he's disingenuous or whatever you think, you know, that's fine. But he can coach a football team. And the whole thing at Michigan, I still think, is a bit overblown. Everybody's trying to get an edge any way they can. And if they want to catch you at something, they will catch you at something.
Yeah. I mean, I guess now with Harbaugh gone and with Nick Saban retired, who's the king of college football? Kirby Smart now?
Oh, yeah, Kirby easily is right now sitting on the top of that heap. There's some young guys that are going to try to chip away there. I think Alabama did a really good job in hiring Kalen DeBoer. I mean, it was late to be looking for a coach. There was some school thought it might be Dan Lanning. We don't know whether he took himself out of the running or before he was offered the job or after. But Kalen DeBoer did a great job at Washington last year, and he's a good replacement. But man, it's not easy being the guy who replaces the guy. And
especially
Alabama's been through this before. When Bear Bryant retired, he was probably the GOAT when he retired, just like Nick Saban is now.
Did Gene Stallings take over directly for Bryant?
No, he was like 4 coaches later.
My God.
And he's the only guy who had any success. He won a national championship there. He was only there like 3 or 4 seasons and retired. But Ray Perkins was the first guy to replace him. And Alabama alum, he was a coach of the Giants before Bill Parcells. In fact, he's the guy who really got the Giants heading back in the right direction after a couple of decades of being pretty bad.
Pickles knew.
But he struggled there. He was only there a few years before he went back to the NFL. Du Bois, Francione, one of the Shula kids was there for a while. Mike Price was there.
Yes.
Mike Price had the job, never even coach a game because he went to a strip club after So they went through a lot of coaches before they got it right.
Who do you think takes that Michigan guy? Do you think Brian Kelly takes it? There was some rumor that he may be interested, the LSU coach.
I think Sherrod Moore will get the job as the offensive coordinator. I really do. He's a company man, for Michigan. He did a great job this year in the six games he coached this year. He did a great job, and I think if he were to leave, or if he doesn't get the job, I think you're going to see a mass exodus out of there, similar to what you saw at Alabama when Saban left. Maybe even worse.
Yeah.
Maybe even worse.
I tell you, that's going to be something. A lot of crazy news and rumors here. I've been reading over this story. I ignored it. Keeps coming up. There's now rumors that maybe this is Andy Reid's last game.
I heard that last weekend. I know Bleacher Report was talking about it. There was not loudly though. There was just talking about. There were whispers in the organization.
Source,
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if Andy Reid walked away at this point. He's not a young guy. He's been doing this a long time.
66, I think.
Yeah.
67, yeah.
So, listen, and I said this before, don't count the Chiefs out, man, because they find ways to win games. Last year, the same thing happened. People were, they weren't as explosive for a lot of the, they weren't beating the spread. They weren't doing this. They weren't doing that. And all they do is win the Super Bowl.
Who would they attract to work with Mahomes, man? I mean, you think Belichick would go to Kansas City?
Yeah, that'd be an interesting dynamic, wouldn't it? It's interesting. I don't know. I mean,
because that Atlanta thing is kind of shaky right now.
Yeah, I don't know well. The problem is that the front office and the owner aren't on the same page. Apparently.
Oh, okay.
Rich McKay doesn't want Bill Belichick, and Arthur Blank does.
Do you think Belichick just wants to get that milestone? With the 15 wins, and that's
I think that's a part of it, but I think he feels like he's got a lot of gas in the tank and he's not ready to quit. And I really don't think he likes the way things ended in New England. I mean, that press conference is all nice and rosy and huggy, but he got fired.
Underneath, he's mad, ain't he?
Don't let anybody fool you. He got fired. And
we've been talking about it for a year now.
The stories that have come out about what's been going on there the last couple of years behind the scenes, they weren't talking to each other. Both the Crafts were bad mouthing Belichick every time they could, calling them the
kids were too.
The super genius, in mad when Brady won a Super Bowl. Kraft was quoted as saying, he told me he couldn't play anymore, and he goes out and wins a blankety blank Super Bowl. Yeah. And this year, and now the stories come out.
Oh, wow. That came out about Brady.
Brady actually said a lot of good things about Belichick.
I was thinking like the family said that Belichick said that about Brady?
No. That was the Kraft saying that about Belichick. Belichick said Brady couldn't play anymore. And
right. Okay, I was making sure I heard you right. Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So they were ripping him for that. The genius didn't know what he was talking about, in other words. Last year, he had a trade in place for Mac Jones, it turns out, and Kraft shot it down. And and there's rumors that he let Mac Jones flounder out there as long as he did, as a way to give the Crafts a middle finger.
I was listening to Colin Cowherd for Fox Sports, and he thought it was ironic that guys like Juju Smith-Schuster and what's the other guy, Devontae, is it Parker? He's wondering why they had really bad separation issues, why he gave them 3-year deals apiece, like he was trying to sabotage the Patriots.
I find it hard to believe that he deliberately sabotaged the team, right?
Oh, okay.
But
he's pretty vindictive.
But you could make a case if you wanted to that something funny was going on.
Would that be crazy if he, next week, he takes the Kansas City job?
Have you ever seen a time? Can you remember a time when so many big name coaches were really available?
I've been meaning to talk to you since this. I got sick at the right of the years, work issues, weather. We've had 7 inches of snow down here. That cripples this town.
Oh, yeah, I'll bet it does.
Freezing. But I was going to ask you the same thing. Yeah, I have not seen this many. I haven't even talked about Pete Carroll, Nick Saban leaving, Bill Belichick, Andy Reid. I'm not going to recognize college or the NFL.
No, it's hard. It's hard to believe so many guys have either moved on or, again, they want to coach. Again,
period, Keith. Have you ever seen anything?
not that I can remember this type of turnover with this much high caliber talent on the coaching.
Yeah, Mike Vrabel
field.
here in Nashville. He made it past Black Monday, Keith. I thought we were okay.
Listen, I don't know that we're all done seeing the shoes drop. As you said, Andy Reid could go yet. I still don't know if the guy in Philadelphia is safe. Sirianni,
they supposedly fired both coordinators, Keith.
There's something really wrong there.
And Vic Fangio's supposed to look in. All of a sudden, Miami said, by the way, Fangio, you're fired.
Yeah, well, how safe has Mike McDaniel got to feel down there? This guy supposedly got the most talented roster in football 2 years in a row, and he can't get out of the first round of the playoffs.
Man, hey, the Grand Reaper's coming in. Yeah. Pickle says Cliff Kingsbury. I've got to bring my man John Restano, big Bears fan. I thought it was a lock that Kingsbury was going to go to Chicago. I
think it's telling that they may be holding on to Josh Fields. If they were going to draft Caleb Williams and trade Fields, I'm sure they would have hired Kingsbury to be the OC.
Well, I got to ask you the big one, and I got a comment about it, but I want to get your comment first.
Sure.
Jared Mayo, what do you think?
Again, what do any of us know? He hasn't coached. He hasn't been a head coach. I like the hire. He's a company man. I hope he's not just somebody the Crafts think of. They've got in their pocket, I hope, and they're turning into Jerry Jones up there.
That's what I'm starting to think after that dreadful press conference.
Yeah, I hope it was cringe-inducing, wasn't it?
Woo!
It was a little scary, but he's well thought of around the league. They did everything they could last year, and Belichick was part of it, of putting this in his contract that he would be the coach in waiting. It's not just the Patriots organization that thinks highly of him. He's thought of highly around the league. You just don't know what first-time coaches. How do we know? Yeah. We just don't know. I mean, do I want to see a Jim Harbaugh in there? I don't want to see a Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah. Do you think the buzz may be like a DeMeco Ryans or a Mike Vrabel? Two guys, linebacker coaches, kind of get the fast track. Isn't he the youngest coach ever to be hired by the Patriots?
The Patriots, definitely, yes. 37. Because he's youngest coach in football right now, right?
McVay, I think. Maybe because McVay, I think he's finally got over 31.
Yeah, wasn't he like 18 when he got hired?
Bobby Slowick's getting interviewed by everybody. He's 36, Keith.
Yeah, I know. I think he's going to get a job, actually. I really do.
Yeah. Let me play you this is full context of the race question. This last part, I didn't hear this by people on social media, like in Rappaport. None of the big NFL reporters. But listen to the last bit. This got under my skin. He played ball here at Tennessee, college ball.
Yeah.
I've been in high regard of him. But after he said this, I would have fired him the next day. Grand hiring, Keith. Grand firing. Listen up. I want the audience to hear this too. Listen, it's about a minute.
Mike T, he reached out. He's actually from our hometown back in Virginia.
Talk about Mike Tomlin.
So, we haven't really talked about the challenges. I appreciate, Thunder and the organization selecting me to be a black head coach. I would say what Thunder just talked about, that was in the locker room. You want your locker room to be pretty diverse, and you would want the world to look like that. What I will say, though, is I do see color, because I believe if you don't see color, you can't see racism. And
that's part of
whatever happens, black, white, disabled person.
Tries to clean it up.
I always, for the most part, people are like, when they're young, they kind of make the spot hot. Younger people know what that means. But what I would say is, no, I want you to be able to go up to those people and really understand those people. So it goes back to whatever it is, black, white, yellow, it really doesn't matter, but it does matter so we can try to fix a problem that we all know we have.
Okay, so that last, we all know we have. You're the youngest Patriot coach ever, and you basically just called the league racist. I mean, who says that, man?
It's funny, and it doesn't play well. I
agree. That got all over me, Keith.
I feel like part of what happened there, and the reason he had to go as far as he went, or end up going as far as he went, is when Kraft said he doesn't see color. When he asked him about hiring the first black head coach, and he says, I don't see that. And I think he did. I don't think Kraft was doing anything wrong either. I think he was trying not to focus on
winning and losing.
I think he didn't want to focus on the fact that he hired a black coach and take away from the fact that this guy's a really good coach in his eyes, right? And I think Mayo felt the need to say it does matter, obviously, because it was very awkward.
Yeah.
And
I think he's virtue signaling to Stephen A. Smith, those race baiters on ESPN.
Yeah.
Joy Reid on MSNBC. I'm like, well, go. Okay, if you want to not be part of this racist league, go work with them. That's what that just come off with me as, man.
It's not a really great start for his tenure here for sure. And, that matters. People first press conference, it doesn't matter. I mean, people still go back to Nick Sirianni's first press conference, which was a disaster in Philadelphia. Now that's being thrown at him since he lost. Yeah, when he's going to the Super Bowl, nobody brings it up. But when they're falling apart,
it cures all.
So it does. And if the Patriots get better next year, then they'll forget about it. But if they have a year like they had this year, then we're probably going to hear about it every week.
Because like I know, Keith, when you fire a coach, traditionally teams go the opposite. They go offensive minded.
Yeah.
Or defense and defense. This guy's never even been a coordinator.
Well, he was a de facto coordinator. I mean,
was he? Okay.
Because the only reason he wasn't a defensive coordinator is there were no coordinators at all the last 2 years because you got to pay them you got to pay them more if they got the title.
Well, Belichick got a little nuts at the end.
Well, this is him and the Crafts. They've done this. They've gone years without offensive or defensive coordinators before, just because they don't want to pay the money. But he was a de facto coordinator. But still, I think they were locked into Mayo because they put it in his contract. So
obligated,
right. So there's nothing they could do there. If they wanted to go offense, like a lot of people wanted them to, maybe me too, I think they would have had to go outside the organization, which they didn't want to do because there's nobody they can hire from inside, or they can't even hire a Josh McDaniels. You can't make him the head coach.
He's had 2 bad debacles.
No, he's never going to be head coach again. He'll be an OC. He might be the Patriots OC for all I know. I don't know what his and Mayo's relationship was. He's
lucky like Doc Rivers, who just got hired by the
Yeah, great job. By the way, great job by ABC there and at ESPN firing the 2 best guys doing basketball, and Mark Jackson and Van Gundy, and bringing this guy in who lasts all of like 2 games.
Yeah. I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, I had to ask you about that. I don't know how long he'll last. When he says stuff like that, that tells me he's real worried about what people think rather than getting the job done,
Yeah, that's an unfortunate way to start his tenure. I agree. Hopefully, again, if he gets out there and he gets his team turned around, but I don't see this as a 1 year, 2 year turnaround either, by the way. I think it's going to take some time. And I'm not sure they're going to be that patient because the start has been so bumpy.
Yeah, that's true. Because Kraft probably bookmarked. I bet if I'm Kraft, I'm ticked by that. I bookmarked that in my mind. I said, okay. Sounds like you're trying to, when you bring up something like that and Kraft fires him in 2 years, he knows he can go to get their ESPN, Jerron Clarkson, those people say, you see?
Yeah. He did it's funny because Kraft set him up to do it. He kind of threw Kraft under the bus. All Kraft had to do was acknowledge that, it's important. We hired our first black head coach.
Yeah.
Right. And it would have diffused some of what he had to say.
Yeah.
But
I say, hey, man, I just want to win. He said, I know how I feel when we lose on Sunday. I don't care who's the head coach. I just brought him the best guy for the job, And,
well, that's the thing. If I'm Gerard Mayo, why point all that stuff out? I'm the best guy for the job. Doesn't matter whether I'm black, white, or green.
I mean, that's what Todd Bowles said. And last year when the reporters tried to bait him, and now I'm a Todd Bowles fan after that. I'm so sick of that crap, I mean,
he makes it sound like they hired him because he was black.
Exactly.
He makes it sound like that's why he got the job.
Financial company or something.
And I don't think that's I don't think that's the reason. I think they think he can be a good football coach, but he better be now.
You know, man, I tell you, this stuff is wild. What do you think? How far can Jim Harbaugh go with this Charger team, man? I mean,
I know they have some
Super
cap
Bowl,
issues.
maybe? I don't know.
They do have some cap issues, so they got to work that stuff out. But there's some talent on both sides of the football. I mean, you got a franchise quarterback, which is the most important thing we know.
Yeah.
He's got some players on defense, if he can keep them around with the cap and whatnot. This could be a Super Bowl team with the right coach. Listen, they've had a talent to go further than they've gone. They blew that big lead against Jacksonville last year,
Sure
and they were a coach, and that Staley made some really bad, really stupid game management decisions over his time there. It cost him getting into playoffs one year by not settling for a tie in the last game.
Yeah.
Did some really stupid stuff. And Harbaugh, again, for no matter what people think of him, he's a good coach. He's won everywhere he went. He goes to a nondescript San Diego college, his first coaching job, and makes them a winner. Goes to Stanford when they were way down, made them a winner. Now, Andrew Luck helped that a lot, but still, he turned that program around. He goes to San Francisco and gets to a Super Bowl with a tricked-up offense and a quarterback who can't even play in the league.
Yeah.
Goes to Michigan and finally gets that turned around, starts beating Ohio State every year and wins the national championship.
He runs hot, though, everywhere he goes, Keith, don't he?
But his resume is pretty good.
Yeah. You know what? That's what I said. This was the best landing place. Yes, you got the franchise quarterback, but you got that 5-year window.
Yeah.
And usually by that 4th or 5th year, he's going to be bumping heads with somebody. He always does.
You know, the other problem.
Have a ring out of it.
The other problem with that job is there's no fan base anymore because they left San Diego. They should have never left San Diego. They don't have a real home field advantage ever when they play because there's more visiting fans there than there are Charger fans.
Yeah. What's left for Belichick? Do you think maybe he takes that Washington job? It lands up in the air now.
One of the things I read too, and why he wants Atlanta so badly, is he doesn't want to coach in a big market again. He wants to go to a small market, and there's not that many jobs. I just don't see him in. I don't see him in Washington. That's going to take time. Atlanta's got some talent outside of the quarterback. They need a quarterback.
They're quarterback away.
If they go sign a Kirk Cousins or somebody who can play the competent quarterback, that team could, in a weak division, he could make that team competitive pretty quickly. It's possible that there's not a chair left for him when the music stops because.
Yeah, that's true. What about that Vic Fangio? What do you think happened there? Do you think maybe McDaniel's on some kind of hot seat, perhaps?
I think he might be. Again, he's got. You watch Hard Knocks at all? The end season.
I didn't like this last one. I should have ordered HBO, but
I like the end season better than the one they do during training camp. And
I'm gonna order it in this year. You know it'll be bad.
They fouled the Dolphins during the season this year.
Yeah.
And he's an interesting guy. He's very quirky. But he's got a ton of talent there, man. And I don't know that his message is really getting across. And I don't think he's tough enough. You watch him, at least again, I know it's all.
I've seen clips, Keith, and he does come off a little awkward.
He's very awkward, and I don't think he's tough on players. He's always giving them an out. And they had a lot of injuries there, but they're too talented. And they're paying too much money to some guys to be able to not to be able to win a playoff game. And it's the coach pays the ultimate price. You don't get, you said 5 years for Harbaugh. It's not a 5-year league anymore. It's like 3 and you're out. Yeah. If you're lucky, some guys don't even get a full year. Frank Reich doesn't even get a full year.
That's what killed me about Mayo. Like, dude, what do you think? He got a $40 million contract now? These contracts are huge.
Yeah.
That's minimum. So, that makes me think Stephen Ross, you just wondered maybe he say, something, hey, Mike, man, we appreciate it, but we're going to go out and get Bill, who's been kicking our butt for years.
I still think, that'd be interesting. I don't think he's going to get fired this year. That'd be interesting to have to go play the Patriots twice a year, right?
He would love to stick it to him, wouldn't he?
That'd be a great team for Bill to coach. That's not going to happen, though. Maybe unless Bill sits a year and then comes back next year and McDaniel gets fired. That's possible. It's not going to happen this year. Stephen Ross fired the wrong guy. He should have got rid of Tua and kept Brian Flores. Sorry. But Brian Flores was doing a good job there, and you fired him just because he wouldn't go out and lose games on purpose.
Yeah. Well, supposedly he couldn't get along with that general manager.
And he had some issues with Tua, too. So he chose.
Oh, yeah, he did.
He chose Tua over the coach. And I think
he wanted Herbert, supposedly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Steve, I forgot that guy's name. Chris Greer, I think, is the general manager.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, man, Nick, going back to Nick Saban, is this all about the NIL and the stress of that transfer portal crap?
I think a lot of it is that. I think he's tired of, you go out and you bust because now it used to be, I remember Steve Spurrier left to go to the NFL. Couldn't believe how hard it was. How he had to work, 20-hour days, and it was all year round. He wanted to go. I wanted to play golf, right? Because college wasn't a full year-round gig. Well, it is now. And you bust your ass on the recruiting trail, and you bring guys in, and then the next year they're gone somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then the next year after that, they're gone somewhere else. I mean, there's nobody reining anything in. At least the NFL's got rules about free agency. You can't just go somewhere year after year after year. College, there's no rules.
Yeah.
And I think Nick got tired of it,
Yeah.
He tried to play the game for a while because he had to. And I think he's tired. He's 72 years old. What else he got to prove?
You don't think he'll take an NFL job, do you?
I think Nick Saban's done coaching.
Okay.
He's been in the NFL. He didn't like the NFL.
Well, what if there's a right quarterback situation in air quotes?
Maybe. I mean, I'm trying to remember who played quarterback for him in Miami. Dante Culpepper, maybe.
Oh, yeah, but he wanted Breeze, but the doctors wouldn't approve it because of his shoulder or something.
Imagine how history might have been different if Nick Saban got his way and got Drew Brees.
Yeah.
And actually did well in Miami and never goes to Alabama.
It would have made life easier for a lot of people in the SEC.
The Dolphins' history would be different. The SEC's history would be different. I mean, it's
Pickle
funny.
says, did Bill take his kids with him from New England? He said, I wonder if that's the issue, perhaps.
Actually, they've both been offered jobs if they want to come back.
Okay.
They have made a decision.
Wow, okay.
They haven't made a decision. Part of me thinks Steve Belichick might benefit from getting a break from his father, right? And not, right.
Fly out of the nest, right?
I think his younger brother would still follow his father, but I think Steve at this point in his coaching career, it would be good for him to have that break away from his father to prove himself if he wants to do that. And if he ever wants to be a head coach, he's got to get out from his father's shadow. Right now, I mean, people think he's got a job because of his dad.
Yeah.
So
speaking of father and son, I'm out of Nashville. Brian Callahan's been hired.
Interesting.
What's your thoughts on that hire?
That's an interesting hire. He's done really well, obviously, in Cincinnati. His father didn't have such a great run.
Great coach, terrible personality, terrible head coach.
Yeah, he didn't. I mean, that one run with Oakland, but that was, or were they Oakland then? Or I think they
might
were.
Have been Oakland back in them days.
Yeah, I think they were, but it was John Gruden's team that he took to the Super Bowl and lost to John Gruden, right? And then he had a horrible run in Nebraska.
Yeah.
I think
he's an elite offensive line coach.
Very good. I think he was with the Jets in that capacity, wasn't he?
This year, look at the injuries Cleveland had.
Was he in Cleveland this year?
Yeah. And the Titans are trying to get him, but Cleveland don't want to give him up, and that still remains to be seen.
Well, I hope his son has a better personality than him, because today you got to have some of that. There are very few guys who can get away with, the Belichick attitude. Just
people really don't like it. But you know how it is with some people. They're not. Certain coaches are just good position coaches. They're good coordinator material.
A ton of guys like that. Josh McDaniels, Exhibit A.
Josh McDaniels. I think so. And I read that he's going to go with Belichick. So
that's possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
follow Daddy Bill.
I would like to see. I would like to see him come back to New England, and because there's talk that they still may try to rehabilitate Jones. So we'll see.
Wow, man.
Not sure how that's gonna work. I'm not sure how that's gonna work.
I want to get you to plug your shows real quick, man. Thanks again for coming on.
Anytime.
Show every Wednesday, right?
Wednesday nights we do the college football, basketball huddle. So we're transitioning now into more basketball than football, but we still talk both, even some baseball in the spring. On Fridays, we're with your buddy, the Mad New Yorker, on Are You Serious, which was always an interesting.
9 a.m. Eastern, right?
9 a.m. Eastern now. Carlos and I get into it pretty good sometimes. I'm sure this week might be one of those weeks. And then Sunday we do the Stream of Consciousness, which is probably my favorite show, where my audience just drives the whole show. I'll like you, I prepare for an entire 2-hour show, and I hardly even get in my stuff because they just carry the whole show.
Yeah.
I love it. So
yeah.
And then a bunch of guest appearances around, Everybody wants me for some reason. Nobody wants to pay me, Robert. What the hell's going on?
Hey, man, I'm telling you, I need a paycheck too, man. I tell you. But Chad says, thank you, Keith. I always think you're great, man. Your predictions are awesome. Good luck with New England. I don't care for Mayo now, but for the Patriots' sake, I hope he y'all figure it out,
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Chad. Chad's come on to my shows a couple of times. In fact, the college football huddle, I know he's been on once or twice, and I think he's been on the Sunday show a few times too. So a few guys have come from your show and popped over. So
yeah,
appreciate that.
I got so busy I couldn't go on the Mac and Jack no more, but they know how busy work is and stuff, and up late. And do you still do your guest appearance there at 8 a.m., I guess?
Friday mornings I do. I'm on from 8:30 to 9, and then Sundays from 8 to 8:30.
Man, you are busy.
And Wednesday nights, actually, now I do the Northeast professional sports show that they do. I'm on there for 45 minutes or so before I do my show.
Oh, wow. You're a busy guy.
Yeah, well, I'll sleep when I'm dead.
Keith Fingal, everybody. Hey, I'll see you around, man. And, stay in touch. I got to bring you on if Belichick finds a job somewhere.
Just buzz me, and I'll be glad to come on.
All right, buddy. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Robert.
Have a good one. Let's see. Didn't get a chance to ask Keith but I watched his show. I'm curious what Keith's going to do for the pick for the championship games. I forgot to ask him, but I'm over. But what I will do is, Are You Serious is funny. Him and Mad New Yorker you've seen here. Listen to that, folks, on YouTube. Are You Serious? Just like it sounds. 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central. Try to get their predictions here for the Super Bowl. Of course, we'll have Carlos Mad New Yorker Chavez Friday night. Me and him will break down those games as well. I'm not locked in. I'm not saying this to put in a tease. I'm not locked in on nobody. I mean, I'm kind of leaning home teams, but I'm not locked in. I want to study the injury report, and it's just Wednesday. So have a good night, everybody. I'll go in more detail with this Harbaugh stuff and all this breaking news tomorrow on SportsScope. So make sure and tune in. Great crowd tonight. See you tomorrow, same time, same place, here on Sports.